Psalm 46, we're in the home stretch on Psalm 46. I can't get past the content, the depth of verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. I will be honored by every nation. I will be honored throughout the earth. And those are God's words. Now, back to the sons of Korah. The Lord of heaven's armies is here among us. The God of Israel is our fortress. This, to me, is one of the most comforting and powerful truths in all of Scripture. I almost said it's such a powerful idea. Well, it is an idea, but it's more than an idea. It's not a theory. It's present fact. The Lord of heaven's armies. I've talked about that, but reflect on that. Go back to the idea that this is not... A lot of people, in my experience, and sometimes I am this way, we think of God a little bit like, well, Santa Claus. Yeah, he's got a list, checking it twice. He's going to see who's naughty and nice. And he's way out there. And at certain times, pops down a chimney and he leaves something good or something bad. You might get a sock full of coal. Well, no. This is not the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible is the Lord of heaven's armies. Now, one of the things that suggests is he has connected who he is, how he is, what he does to the life experience of the people who he's communicated with and who are going to read this. And in ancient times, it was about military force. I mean, Solomon had one of probably the most peaceful kingdom in all of Israel's history. But part of why his kingdom was peaceful is because he had the deterrent of what was considered the best army in the world at the time. It is not a part of our thinking and has become less a part of our thinking. I would say, well, let me put it this way. The world thought that World War I was the war to end all wars. Millions of lives were lost. It wasn't the war to end all wars. Nor was World War II, nor was the Korean conflict, or the Vietnam War. You can call it whatever you want to, but it was a war. Or Desert Storm, or just load them on and on and on. But we don't think in terms of, or very many of us don't think in terms of military power and dominance. And sometimes people don't think of these as positive things. This is part of the curse. Well, I suppose it is. There would be no need for war if pride and selfishness hadn't entered our human consciousness and become part of our soul. Well, boy, I went down that bunny trail. Here's the thing. The Lord of heaven's armies is the singular greatest kind of designation that a Hebrew could give the armies of heaven were virtually uncountable, millions upon millions of angels. While we're talking about that, it's worth saying angels are not people who have died and gone to be with God. Angels are an order of created beings created by God, I believe, for the purpose of forming this army of heaven. An army that, well, Satan, the devil, as best we can tell, was Lucifer, an angel, and an angel of exceeding beauty and strength, power. He takes a third of the angels and attempts a coup, a rebellion against God, and God cast he and his followers, the 1/3 of the angels, out of heaven. Now, a lot of people say, well, Isaiah makes that real plain. No, you probably ought to go back and read Isaiah. You can extrapolate that from it, but he was kind of also talking about like a Babylonian emperor. Okay. The Lord of Heaven's armies. That's how powerful he is. Makes the president of the United States or Russia or any country you can name look like kindergarten children. And their authority extends nowhere near as where his authority extends, his power, his... Okay, the Lord of Heaven's armies. Get off of that, Steve, and let's think about is here among us now. In my quiet time this morning, I was just complaining to God that I know intellectually that he is here. I often don't feel that emotionally. Now, I don't want to, a portion of my life, I was all wrapped around the axle of emotion, that was the primary thing. My relationship to God was rooted almost exclusively in my feelings and emotions. And then I decided that wasn't working. And I decided I didn't want that emotion, those feelings, into the structure and form, pardon me, formula of my relationship to God, because they just got in the way. Instead of me feeling more secure in God, I would feel great and boom, then I'd feel awful. So I didn't decide to assassinate my feelings. What I decided was I would overwhelm my feelings with my thoughts. I read deeply and broadly from a wide variety of authors on my walk and relationship with God. He was here. Really, he was here. But he wasn't so much here. I'm not really interested in redesigning my relationship to God, to be primarily about my feelings. But I am not very interested in my feelings never connecting to God, to feeling that he is out there. Does he care? Does he notice? Is he aware? Absolutely. But he's out there. somehow, I don't know that I would say not accessible to me, but less accessible. And that's simply not true. The sons of Korah say, the Lord of heaven's armies is here among us. They don't write, he's close. He's as close as you're inviting him. No. He is here among us, in with us. I mean, it's like, well, what if the president just showed up at the food court? No Secret Service, no security, no press corps, just him. And he bought a hot dog and he just hung out with people. He sat down and among us. That is simply not going to happen. But our world is not safe enough for that to happen. But for God to be among us, he has pulled up a chair. I don't know that he's eating a hot dog, but he's here. He is not waiting for us to somehow get to him. He's here. Okay, I know this here, and I'm reiterating it to myself several times a day, in fact. And my prayer is, God, I know this in my head. Now, bring it home, even into my emotions. I don't want to just feel that you are here. I don't want to just know that you are here. I want to know and to feel. The God of Israel is our fortress. Back to the idea that God is not saying, okay, I hung around with you. You're going to have to do better. You just got to, do the best you can. And, I'll be checking in with you from time to time. No, that's not what he does. He is our fortress. Why do you need a fortress? We've already talked about this for at least two reasons. You need an armory. You need a place where you can go to be ready to address the attack of an enemy in some way. And you need a safe place to get where you're behind a protective structure. The God of Israel is our fortress. I could go a long time on this idea, but I've only got about a minute and a half, so I'm going to try and condense it real quick. I think the church, God's family, should be a fortress. It should be a safe place. I have a friend, I love the phrase I first heard from him. It's a safe place to make a dangerous decision. But churches too often are not safe. I was thinking about this yesterday. Actually, a song came on the radio and it talked about an unspoken prayer. And I often see people post and hear people say, I have an unspoken prayer. Well, okay, that's not a sin, but I know why. There's a reason why this prayer request is unspoken. Because it's not safe enough to disclose that I'm having this kind of a problem. Because if they knew, they being, the rest of the church, with probably few exceptions, I would not be the subject of prayer. I'd be the subject of conjecture and even gossip. And, oh, by the way, you've had this happen. You ask for prayers, and people start throwing down advice. Holy smokes. I want to be a part of a church. I want to contribute to a church that is a safe place. I think you probably do too. Well, okay. Done for now. We'll move on next time on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.